To let Director Powell introduce our secretary, I just have to say one thing, that when I was selected for this job and had the honor of being selected for this job, I called as many former policy planners as I could, beginning with Win Lord and right up to my predecessor, David Gordon. And I said, tell me about the job. And every single one said, it depends on your relationship with the secretary. I am here to report that I am working for a secretary who, first of all, reads all our memos and indeed reads books that we haven't given her and asks why we haven't read them, which is a little daunting, who absolutely embraces big ideas but insists that they be connected to results and not just theories, which is exactly where we ought to be as policy planners. And finally, you know how brilliant her head is. I'm here to tell you she's got just as warm a heart. This is the most family-friendly job I think I've ever had, and it makes a huge difference for those of us who are juggling work and family. So with that, let me turn to Director Powell.
Anne Marie, a very special thank you. And I think if the SP gig doesn't work out, you got a future in vaudeville. It is now my honor to introduce Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton and to say a very special thank you for joining us today for Foreign Affairs Day.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. Well, it is absolutely a privilege for me to join all of you today, and I'm delighted to see so many of you here for Foreign Affairs Day. You are among the small elite group of Americans who know the joys and challenges, the problems and potential of our work here in the State Department from the inside out, and we are absolutely delighted to see you back here. I also am pleased that Anne Marie was able to talk with you for a while and answer questions. It's been a joy working with her, and some of you may know her work from her academic career and her deanship at the Woodrow Wilson School at Princeton, but her grasp of the kind of interconnected, networked world in which we are operating today has been immensely influential in how we are attempting to think through how we better influence others around the world, how we have to partner with not just governments but so many other important entities. And of course I thank Nancy Powell, who's doing an excellent job under very challenging circumstances, because we were almost too successful last year in fighting for an increase in the budget. We have a flood of new Foreign Service officers coming on board, and managing them, mentoring them, even selecting them and then assigning them has been quite an undertaking, and Nancy and Steve Browning and others are really leading the way for us. Last year, Foreign Affairs Day came on the 100th day of my tenure in this job. And in another month, it will be my 500 days. So I've never heard of a 500-day report, but I can safely tell you that we've made considerable headway on the priorities that I outlined when we last met here. We are elevating development and diplomacy as core elements of our foreign policy alongside defense. We're doing so with strong support from Secretary Gates, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mike Mullen, who have really become believers in the necessity for us to be activists in diplomacy and development, to try to prevent conflict, to try to ameliorate and resolve conflict, to try to go into post-conflict situations, to begin to help rebuild. We are strengthening our relations with our historic allies in Europe and Asia. We have engaged emerging partners such as India, Indonesia, Brazil. We've established constructive, albeit still challenging, relationships with both China and Russia. Our new START agreement with Russia is just one example of the concrete results we've achieved through these efforts. And of course, we're addressing the very tough security problems that we face in Afghanistan, Pakistan, still in Iraq. And the State Department and USAID are not on the margins in this work. We are, right in the middle. We are working hand in hand in very difficult settings without the kind of massive support that the military is able to provide for its troops. But it has proven to be a very rewarding relationship. We are advancing the Middle East peace process, tackling proliferation challenges from Iran and North Korea, and we're addressing the broader dangers posed by unsecured nuclear materials. We're dealing with global challenges like climate change and energy, advancing human rights and democracy on the terrain of the 21st century by pushing for internet freedom and looking for more ways to empower women. On development, our new initiatives are significant, but the biggest change in our approach may not be so much in what we are doing as in how we are doing it. We're approaching development with a very clear-eyed expectation about results. That begins with partnerships that we set the parameters for between the United States and developing countries. We are learning from the experience of the Millennium Challenge Corporation, an innovative idea that I think holds great promise. Our new administrator for USAID, Dr. Raj Shah, brings a background of accountability measurements and metrics to his current position. We are demanding accountability not only from our partners, but we're expecting the same from ourselves. We are implementing better processes to gather data and measure results, not on the basis of dollars spent, but on truer measures of progress, lives saved, jobs created, children educated. We're investing in potentially game-changing research, particularly in agriculture. I think that USAID should not only be the premier development agency in the world again, but it should be the premier development research agency in the world. There are a lot of game-changing technologies that the United States can help develop and then to spread and implement. We're pursuing funding mechanisms that encourage private companies to develop products and services for the poor. Now, we know in these tight budget times that our resources are limited, and we have to make hard choices about where our support will have the biggest impact. That means we have decided to focus on two key areas, global health and food security. Our Global Health Initiative and our Feed the Future initiative are intended to make long-term, large-scale investments in a smaller number of partner countries rather than peppering support across different issues and regions. We want some success stories. If you look at the history of development in Africa, there are some bright spots, but there are too many places that just haven't advanced the way they need to. If you look at development in Latin America, there are many success stories, but the inequity that exists between the rich and the poor is the highest of any place in the world. So how do we build middle classes and middle class institutions? These are some of the issues that we're grappling with because we want sustainable development progress. We're also working to ensure that the Department's capabilities are aligned with our long-term priorities. Anne-Marie's work on our very first quadrennial diplomacy and development review, along with Deputy Secretary Jack Lew and Raj Shah, is moving us closer to that goal. Now, if this sounds like a full agenda, that's because it is. And frankly, we could use your help. We need our retired Foreign Service and Civil Service employees to assist us. And we actually have a program called WAE, W-A-E, When Actually Employed. It enables our foreign